We've gone through one of the worst crises that we have ever had: a pandemic, a global slowdown, a global financial market turmoil, migrant crisis, clashes on the border. It's something that has probably been unprecedented, something that's never happened in our lives, and hopefully will never happen in our lives or anybody else's lives again. So quickly, without much further ado, let me just go on to the main topic of the evening's discussion today, and for which we are all gathered: unlocking prescriptions for unlocking the Indian economy. This is something that has been on top of everybody's mind. This is something that is being discussed ad nauseum, endlessly on television channels, newspaper columns, and by captains of the industry and by the government. The government has announced a fiscal stimulus package worth around 20 lakh crore, though the actual cash payout or the actual financing over the FY21 budget estimate is just about just over 1% of GDP. That has created a bit of a heartburn among some people who, some sectors of the industry, which feel that they have been left out. So very quickly, can I just go across to each one of you and ask you in very simple, short way, if we can find out as to what is it that you think needs to be done immediately to get the Indian economy going. We've had capacities coming back online. We've had production starting up. We've had a bit of a demand pickup, but it's probably not enough. So maybe if I can just start with Rasesh and then go across to everybody: Umang, Mr. Sodhi, Mr. Bharatpuri, and others. Rasesh, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Sriram, and thanks to ET for this opportunity. Great to be here. And obviously, it's a very important topic. How do we open up? Because I think, closing down was easy because it was one single stroke, but opening has to be a lot more calibrated. And I think the two most important parts of opening is how to get the supply side back and how to get the demand back. I think part of the supply side is what government has started opening up, and even credit and what you called about 20 lakh stimulus, which is largely also liquidity oriented, is a good first step, though it is not enough, because I think liquidity needs to be followed with consumption, which needs to be then followed with investments. And it's a very unique situation because we have a demand shock and a supply shock. And I think the stimulus up till now has taken care of the supply shock, but not the demand shock. The demand shock has to be overcome by maybe tax rebates and cutting down on GST and really stimulating demand. We need to put cash in the hands of the ordinary Aam Aadmi in that sense. And here what we're seeing is the rural economy is doing fairly well. And we have, Mr. Sondhi out here, he'll speak a lot more about that. But the rural economy apparently is doing well, but the urban economy is doing badly because a lot of the migrant labor has gone back, construction and mobile activity is at a low. So I think really reviving urban consumption should be the step 2 on this. And obviously, goes without saying, as we unlock, we have to be very careful because the risk is at the highest, but to stay close anymore. So I think with calibrated steps, if we can start getting consumption back, it will be useful.
That's great. Consumption, and that's really the big thing that everybody has been talking about. How do you get consumption back, and how especially do you get urban consumption back when most of your cities are in a lockdown? We are very thankful to have with us Mr. R.S. Sodhi, who can give us some idea about the consumption story, how it is panning out in rural areas, and what is really the story with urban demand. And after Mr. Sodhi, we can go across to Mr. Bharatpuri for this. Mr. Sodhi, over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Shriramji. Well, you see, being from food side, let me tell you, consumption or demand has not been much impacted as food is concerned. There were some hiccups in the supply side, but demand for food is there. Definitely, there has been some shift taken place. I mean, consumption is shifting more towards from the unbranded or loose to the branded side, but affordable and with a good quality and of hygienic side. So that is the one side. So, and also what we have found is that consumer want both in urban and rural. People want affordable product, small packing in the rural side, and no doubt money, the income has been reduced not only in urban but also rural. I mean, somebody said that agriculture economy is good. It is good, but you have to see, you have to create demand. And when 70% are in the rural economy, you have to see how to give cash into their hands. And best way of giving cash into their hands is that under PM Kisan Yojana, we are giving 6,000 rupees. If we increase double it or 24, direct money will go to into hands of the rural people, and then they can spend money. They can buy more the food or other durables or other FMCG products. And then when demand is created, naturally industry will run. So now we don't want investments in the industry, we want demand to be generated. And
Right.
like income is personal income tax is reduced, that is one thing. And as far as migration of labor is concerned, no doubt it is a big thing. But let me tell you, if you see the total out of the 50 crore people who are working in the working segment, only 25 is the percent is the migrant labor, so around 12 crore. And out of that, only 25% people have migrated back. So it is around 2.5 crore. And out of that, we feel in next 3 to 6 months, 75% people are going to come back because they do not have any source of income at their places because everybody is earning around 11 to 12,000 rupees out of that. 70-80% they are sending back home. So if you have to generate income demand in rural India, so you have to see that how our industry can run faster, and for the demand generation is the main thing. For that you have to give money into or cash into the hands of rural, urban both, and that can be only possible by giving more through PM Kisan Yojana or reducing income tax or giving some subsidies to the urban consumer.
Right. So reigniting urban demand. I mean, that's really the big issue, not just urban demand, but also rural demand. Mr. Sodhi made some very interesting points here. Mr. Puri, if I can just come across to you, how do you see the demand picture now? We've had unlock one for the last, 10, 12 days or so. And then before that, we had a bit of a relaxation in the lockdown and the factories have started producing. People have started going out a bit. How do you see the picture? And what do you think should be done to actually unlock demand and drive demand? Cash in the hands of people, that's what is going to.
I think very simply, yes. But if you take a step back, Sriram, there are three kinds of markets today in India. And as my friend Mr. Sodhi very rightly pointed out, see, currently rural and small town India has largely been unimpacted, and let's hope it remains that way. Then there are certain geographies that are lesser impacted or may have handled this better, which is the Keralas, the Karnatakas, parts of the south, parts of the east. And then it's clear that the large metros and the larger cities are the ones, especially the big metros, Mumbai, Delhi, Ahmedabad, Pune, where you have a severe issue. Right. Now, to my mind, when you are comparing right now, all of us are happy that in May and now in June, small town and rural India is returning and it is at between 75 and 90% where it could be. The states of Kerala, Karnataka are coming back. However, this doesn't take away from the problem that there was even before this happened, an issue of aggregate demand in the Indian economy. That hasn't gone away. Unfortunately, this pandemic has taken a hammer and hit hard, and therefore it has got exacerbated. So to my mind, the solutions have to be, how do you create aggregate demand? In the short run, the only way of creating aggregate demand is putting money in the hands of the consumer. There are many, smart economists who recommended many ways of doing it. And there are ways of incentivizing. I mean, there are multiplicative sectors. If I take something like construction, which is something we are familiar with. Now, construction, besides being a very large employer, is a sector where if construction does well, a whole set of industries across home improvement, whether it's paints or lighting or furniture or decor, whether it is cement, steel, everybody does well. Now, we know there's an issue of unsold inventory. We know there's an issue of liquidity. Maybe then the answer is a 3-year moratorium for consumers on all interest being income tax free. And I'm sure there could be many such, those of us who come from a sales background know that in the short run, if you have to incentivize fellows, you have to give them an offer that's not going to come again. I think there are many such schemes available to the government. I think the time as, hopefully near normalcy, I think full normalcy is a long way away. As near normalcy comes, we will have to be innovative and we will have to put money in the hands of the consumer.
Right, putting money in the hands of the consumers. That is a recurring theme here, and all of you are actually stressing on that theme, and it's something that has also engaged the minds of much of captains of industry, and I'm sure the government is hearing this message loud and clear. But Mr. Vora, if I can come to you, sir, demand for your products, pharmaceutical products, really shouldn't have been much of an issue in the last couple of months or so. But what have been the challenges that you and your firm have gone through in the last, say, 2.5 months? And how have you come through this? Give us an inside account of how you manage this whole very, very difficult, very, very stressful issue.
No, so I think thank you for having me on the panel. Great to be again amidst a few friends, and I'm happy to share our views. I will maybe start by saying that I think the fundamental and the number one priority is for everyone to be well. And I would just not underestimate that the early signals of rural demand and the fact that the migrants are not creating the kind of a case outbreak in the interiors would be a trend that we can continue to count on going forward. So I would just warn that there are going to be many phases of how COVID will eventually play out in a large country like ours. So I would just say that, we will continue to see trends that are moving, and the targets and the hotspots are going to continue to move. Having said that, I think my own view on this is I agree with most of the panelists, but let me just start by saying that, I think it's a government call on whether they put money back into the hands of people or not. But I think one of the sectors that we have been working very closely in the pharmaceutical chain is the MSME sector, right? And let me explain that. For a drug product to go, there has to be a packaging that's required for that drug product. We've seen tremendous stress in ancillary industries, right? And I would go back to the point that I think central to the government's plan, outside of giving money into the hands of consumers, and we have to see how effective that is going to be, is also reviving employment, right? So Mr. Sodhi gave some numbers about 20 million migrants going back. I mean, imagine the distress on the rural economy. Imagine the distress on those families if these 20 million can't come back to work quick enough. Right, we're talking about a huge impact, right? These are the people who used to send money back home, and today they're back home without money, right? So let's not underestimate that. So what I would suggest is, I think the MSME industry definitely needs funding. They're a big source of employment. I agree with Bharat. I think construction is a great thing. I think there is scope for the government.
Sorry, if I can just hold you there, sir. You talked about the MSME sector that is under a lot of stress and where it needs a lot of support. What do you think of the package that the government announced, the loan guarantee worth about 3 lakh crore under various...
So I'm happy with the package, but I don't know if it's enough, right? And that brings me to the second point, which is, I think the government, most governments around the world that we've seen have been overemphasizing stimulus at this point in time, right? And if you really look at this government's managed its expenditure really well. Let me put it out that way, right?
Sure.
And I think in today's time, there is possibly more scope for the government to release additional stimulus back into the economy. So I would look at the MSME sector. I would look at more to do for that sector because that creates employment. I would look at construction. I would look at government spending additionally, because I think, we can keep saying put money back into the hands of the consumer, but I just think at this point in time, employment and getting people to work and remunerative work, let me put it that way, right, is the most important ask of the government. And if that comes, you really don't need to put too much of money back. I mean, one odd installment of money is important, but I think that the solution has to be more structural. So that's where I would end. I think in pharma, just to close out, and I'm sorry I'm taking perhaps a little longer than usual. In pharma, we've seen it was really tough the first 1 month because, unlike other industries, we really didn't need to. We had to manage our own way to get people working at the factories, and our employees and employees of every other pharma company have actually stepped up to the occasion. And I feel good about the fact that this industry could rally with government support to make sure that no medicine was out of stock. So I think it was tough, but we managed it really well. But we see stress in some aspects, which I think needs correction.
Right. Congratulations to you, sir, for having actually managed this very stressful period. And I'm sure, you and your employees deserve a whole lot of praise for actually taking it. But Mr. Singh, if I can come to you, the very important structural point that Mr. Vora made about employment, about getting people back to work, not just migrants, but also reducing the share of the unemployed in the workforce. This problem was with us before COVID. It's not a new problem. It is not something that came because of COVID. It was with us before COVID. Now, what, according to you think, a lot of solutions are being offered, but one technology is obviously going to play a very key role going forward. What, according to you, would the technology investments that need to be made, organizations will need to make these technology investments and build more resilience in their business, and at the same time generate employment?
Yeah, sure. Look, I would put two different points. I'll come to the technology point just in a second. But the point I'd also make is, whilst I agree with everybody that there is a need for a shock therapy to get the heart going again in terms of creating demand, but there also needs to be a clear, stable policy remit, right? So that people get confidence back to be able to spend the money, right? Don't forget, there is lack of confidence in people, confidence about their well-being, confidence about their financial well-being. So there needs to be that clarity of policy initiative to say, yes, go ahead, make some investments, whether it is private investments or commercial investments. So that's one thing. On the technology front, what I would say is, again, 2 points, which will be more on the supply side than the demand side, which is if there's one thing that has happened in the last 2 months is that the pivot towards digital consumption and digital interaction has increased at the pace that would have normally gone in 5 to 7 years, right? So there will have to be investments made by organizations to make sure that they are now ready to interact with their consumer base, in the digital format, right? On one hand, on the other hand, sadly the instability, if I can call it, or the lack of clarity about stop-starts in the economy is here. So in more than resilience, it is the elasticity in your cost base which will have to become quite critical, which will again mean that you'll have to invest quite heavily, using technology to increase the elasticity on your cost base. So I would say 2 different sets of investments: one on the consumer side to enable digital consumption and digital interaction, and the other on the enterprise side to increase elasticity of cost base.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Singh. Rasesh, if I can come to you, and Mr. Singh made a very interesting and important point here, which is, we said that the lack of confidence, or the worry, the fear about the financial well-being, and is really making people hold back. And everybody is now worried. Everybody is now sitting tight and wondering as to what's going to happen, whether the cases are going to come down, when are we going to really emerge from this period, and when are we really, and will I have my job back? Will I get my old salary back? Your insight from whatever the financial services sector has been facing in the last couple of months, whatever you have seen from the lifting, the slow lifting of the lockdown, what do you think is happening? Are people going out and taking loans? Is that what you're seeing? Or are people really defaulting and worried about, and taking in the moratorium and worried about, sitting quiet and really worried about what's their future going to be like?
Yeah, I think it's an important point, and I must say, I think we have seen a huge amount of disruption, as I said earlier, demand and supply. But as you very correctly said, I think there is a damage. We need to restore the supply chain and get things opened up, and people go to factories and working and liquidity and all of that, which is, I call, the aspect of opening up again. But the soft aspect of opening up again is the psychological part, the confidence, the animal spirits, the feeling that the better, and as you very correctly said, not being apprehensive and worried, because at both the corporate level and the consumer level, the consumer will hold back on spending. They'll continue to spend on food essentials, but if there is a lot of discretionary expenditure, holidays and apparel and all that, if that comes down, buying cars and all comes down, that will have its impact. And the same way, we have to sort out the physical part of it, because if you're an auto manufacturer, you want to open up, but if your suppliers are not able to open up, either because they don't have liquidity or don't have the people out there, you are not going to be able to work. And if there are no consumers buying cars, it's not for you. So I think one is, on the physical side, we need a comprehensive solution, which is about liquidity, about creating demand, as we have spoken, because if you create only liquidity, people are not going to manufacture just because I have liquidity. Right. So I think that is one part, but the other is to get confidence. I think in that, the government needs to consult businesses much more closely. I think there is a lot of consult going on, because businesses will not open up just because government says, okay, now you start opening up. When they
Absolutely.
get the inputs on time, they get the liquidity, and they see the consumers buying stuff. For that, I think to do this in a calibrated manner, because this is very comprehensive. As I said, you have to fix the whole chain. And I'm talking to a lot of people, as you said. Some are saying, I can open up, I've got an export market, but I'm not people. Some other are saying, I don't have liquidity. Like you asked about MSME, and the 3 lakh crore scheme is a good scheme, but it's not enough, because if you look at the total MSME, base, it's only about going to be 20%. And what is happening is MSME are not getting fresh money. They are getting money which they're using to repay back to the banks. So there's money going in their hands. So we look at gross disbursement by banks, but we should look at how much is being paid back to the banks also. So there is real liquidity accruing out there so that they can pay their employees and they can hold inventory and things like that. So I think we need a very comprehensive systematic solution to fixing a lot of things, because if you fix half of it, it's not going to work. And this psychological part, the softer part of getting confidence, which will come through consultation, which will come to reforms, ease of doing business, which will come to certainty on the policy decision. If you give investment concession, make sure it's there for the long term so that people come and the animal spirits to come back. I also think COVID is going to be a great accelerator in the end, because for all trends like technology, it's a game changer. It's been an accelerator of sorts. It can be an accelerator for reforms, and I think it could be a great reset for India if you use this like what happened in when we had the balance of payment crisis
in 1991. That's right.
In 91, and we use this to say we just leapfrog into the future, and this could be that opportunity for us, and we need to grab it. But the Indian government, everybody needs to come together to work on this.
Right. That's a very apt analogy back to the 1991 days when we really had a major crisis and we came through it very well. But let me just ask you one more point, Rasesh, before we move on to other things. Do you think that the government will do demand stimulus in terms of putting cash back in the hands of consumers? What is your reading?
I think so. I think when I talk to government and even RBI and all, they are holding a lot, because currently they feel there is such a crisis that you all your ammunition in one shot. Because so I think tax relief and GST relief, especially for the corporates, I think corporates are okay. What corporates needs is more reforms and policy certainty and ease of doing business. What consumers need is confidence. They need cash, because cash gives you confidence for sure. But they need to feel confident about the future. Then you will go and buy or a house or start spending again. And we need to revive that. So I think I agree with you. I think the GST cuts and some tax. The government ultimately is going to lose money if at all economy doesn't come back. So there is an invisible cost and there is a visible cost. I think the world is saying I might as well take the visible cost of putting in the hands of people indirectly, directly, and get the economy going. Because if the economy gets going, government will get tax revenues and GST revenues and all. Otherwise, I always say that government is a partner in business. If 25 to 30% of your profits is being paid as tax, government is keeping partner in the business. So we and the government is aligned that the companies need to start making profits, the individuals need to have incomes and all that. So government needs to kickstart, and they are actually the risk taker or the kickstarter agency of the last resort in that sense.
Absolutely. Very aptly put. I'm just going to go across and take some questions from the audience since we have this really heavyweight panel. There's a lot of interest among people who really want to know about about the burning issues of the day and what we're discussing. So the first question would be, migrants have left back to rural areas. Do you think that they should be called back to urban areas for the work, or should alternative employment be provided in rural areas for their livelihood and so on? I would like to pose this question to Mr. Sodhi. I don't know if he's there. Mr. Sodhi, are you there? Okay, I think we may have lost the link to Mr. Sodhi. Mr. Puri, if you can take this question, sir.
Sure.
I'll just
absolutely, Sriram. The basic thing is, if the migrants, as we call them, the informal labor, if they had employment in the rural areas, they wouldn't come to the urban areas in the first place.
Right.
In my view, they will come back to the urban areas because the employment is here. Remember, now this time it's been unprecedented because of the situation on ground. But every monsoon, summer stroke monsoon area, there is a reverse migration that takes place.
Right.
A lot of labor goes back during this time and comes back as the season opens up in September, October.
That's
It is our belief that the same will happen. The carpenter, the mason, the plumber, the painter, all of them, the helpers have all gone, the contractors and the basic staff is left behind in these 3 months. As the situation appears secure and work comes back, I think it will take some doing, but a large majority will come back.
Large majority will come back. Mr. Sodhi, sorry, sir, I think the link was lost. But the question that's come from the audience is about migration in rural areas. The question is that migrants have left back to rural areas. Do you think they should be called back, or should alternative employment be provided in rural areas for them?
Shriram, like I mentioned, and just now Shri Bharatpur also mentioned, 70-80% they have to come back. They do not opportunity.
They have to come back, right?
Yeah. Now, what employment opportunities can be provided in rural India? Let me add here, Government of India has announced 2 stimulus,
right,
as far as animal husbandry is concerned. One is for short term, one is for long term. You see, during this lockdown, when the unorganized sector was not buying milk from the farmers, and farmers were suing, so government requested all the cooperative organizations to procure more. So we purchased around 15 to 17, today also 17% more milk. So naturally, sale is same. Extra milk was converted into commodities. In milk, it is called skim milk powder and white butter. So first stimulus was that government gave us working capital interest subvention.
Right.
Around 4% plus 4%. So with that, we could buy we could keep 5,000 to 6,000 rupees, 5,000 to 6,000 crore rupees extra inventory, which will be selling later on. I mean, if you just give a figure during lockdown, giving cash to the farmers, we gave around 10,000 crore rupees cash into the rural economy. I mean, out of that, around 82-83% Gujarat and balance. And out of that 10,000, around 1,300 crore rupees the extra cash we gave because of cash. One was that. Second, employment, you see, stimulus what I announced is the government created a fund of 15,000 crore rupees for building dairy infrastructure fund. And that 15,000 crore rupees, if spent like we have spent during White Revolution or Operation Flood, can create processing capacity of around 5 crore liters per day. And 5 crore liters per day means around 3 million jobs into the rural families. And you see, mainly migrants have gone back to UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, Odisha, West Bengal. And these all states, except the Western UP, are milk deficit. So if this money can be spent in dairy infrastructure building in these states, the migrant labor can get jobs, employment in the rural India, rural UP, rural Bihar, and there you don't need even land also.
Right, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. for this. Piyush, I think you wanted to come back on the migrant issue, but there is a question from the audience, which is probably right up your alley, which you would like to answer also. Do you see any cut in the new projects coming up in the manufacturing companies due to the pandemic? Many automation companies are dependent on these new projects. How much do you think is manufacturing and project investment going to be affected by the pandemic, and whatever capex cuts are going to happen? Piyush.
Yeah, look, I mean, just to go back to the migrant point, right? I mean, the one thing I would say is this is an unprecedented level of of migration of labor, and I think in there is potentially one opportunity, which is a large section of population that has migrated there today has gone back with a sense of dealing with the organized financial system, which rural India is not. So there is an opportunity to see whether we can tap into its the innovation that it has seen in urban India, and today has gone back home with a mindset of not spending 2 weeks of holiday, but being stuck there and unleashing some credit locally to fund the innovation and create micro SME opportunities in rural India out of this migrant population. That's something to consider. to your point about project spend, look, I mean, that's there is a pause right now where every has to first of all assess exactly what state they're going to emerge out of this. And as I've said before, I mean, at the other end of that, not here, but outside, is that there will be winners and losers, right? And the winners will have to, unleash much greater investment, both in terms of, I said, restructuring their your internal enterprise cost, as well as restructuring their go-to-market channels. And in case of manufacturing, it is going to be focused on the internal restructuring, and elasticity is going to be all focused on automation. So I do think there will be opportunities there for automation companies, if that was the question, absolutely. But there will be a flight towards quality in terms of the quality of manufacturers that will remain buoyant and the quality of solutions that will be provided. So my suggestion to the person asking the question would be focus on the depth and quality of solution, and focus on qualifying hard to whom you take that proposition, because it's the winners who will be in a position to buy and the others who will not be in a position for some time yet to unleash any investment. Right.
Thank you, Piyush. I'm afraid, gentlemen, we've completely run out of time. Thank you for spending this time with us and the ET Global Business Summit on reimagining Indian business, prescriptions for unlocking the economy. Great suggestions, great insight, great thoughts into what is it that we really need to do. One message that comes out loud and clear: put cash in the hands of consumers, generate and drive demand, because that is what we need to do in order to grow the economy forward. I'm sure North Block is probably hearing this message loud and clear. Hopefully we'll see something in the next few months, if not a few weeks, at least in the next few months. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Rasesh. Thank you, Mr. Vora.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Puri. Thank you, Mr. Sodhi. Have a great evening.
Thank you,
and enjoy the conference.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Sriram Ramakrishnan, for moderating this panel. A lot of light was shed on prescriptions for unlocking the Indian economy going forward. And a big thank you to all the panelists who participated in this panel discussion.